Welcome to the 1 0 podcast. I'm your host, Tom Skeen, joined by Mariners rapper Don Dishes, aka the cultural correspondent Dontay Reynolds. How you doing, my brother?
Doing well, Dom. How you doing?
I'm fired up today. We've got
Yes,
a
sir.
little over a week and a half of Mariners baseball in the books now. 11 games. Teams obviously 4-7, and people feel like the team is struggling. It's magnified being 3 games under 500 because you've almost got twice as many losses as you do wins. But here we're
Yeah.
gonna break it all down. And I named today's show "Be Where Your Feet Are in April." Mariners fans, be where your feet are in April, because when you're in April, to me, it's the most exciting time of the baseball season. You've got so little data to go off of, and you're getting all the new data at once. But now, when you get some data and it's not what you wanted to see, like Cal Raleigh's batting average is low. Cal Raleigh doesn't have a homer through 10 games. That's the type of
Right.
thing that it's like, oh no, right? Did we make a mistake? Is something wrong here? Is this the way that we're going to have to deal with it for the next 150 games? However, it's also like, oh, what is new? What decisions did they make this offseason that they didn't tell us about that we're now seeing the results of? We're seeing the fruits, what work was put in the offseason that was being kind of kept under wraps so that they could bring it out with an element of surprise in the opening week. And now we're getting to see the fruits of that labor. So to me, it's one of the most exciting times. To a lot of people, it's one of the most worrisome times as a baseball fan. How do you feel about all that, Don?
Man, it's different. It's different to see people panic so tough so early for me. Later in the season, it can come down to something where it feels like, oh, one game or oh, one situation. And I've always understood those things that they can accumulate, right? But over time, it's like reading a graph of stats at a basic level because I don't do it much. But I think as you know, over time you can get that information and then you can build, a good argument based on some concrete details. We just don't have many details, and a lot of people are going off the short amount of games and doing predictions. Already doing predictions. I think that's rage bait. I think that's bait to pull people into a negative spin already and really get those cats who get fired up about toasting to a problem. It gives them something to champagne, and I don't want to do that. So I think that's what happens. Just the fear incites, and we gotta just keep our head on the swivel. These early times are times to really grow and learn. And yeah, it's upsetting to lose. It's always tough to lose, man. If we could win them all, we get them all, and we go without a blemish, of course. But that's not how the game works, and you just have to triumph through valiant effort and adjustment, man. Adjustment. And if we see over time that we're not adjusting and we're not changing and we're taking these L's, then we could be like, man, we're not adjusting over so many, sightings of the same situation. Not a quick stint that hurts us, not a quick setback of games that we want to win, but we didn't take them. And not the quick way of saying, yeah, if we might do this, we might as well put it in the bag. Like, man, we can't do that. 10 in. Absurd.
Absolutely. And I mean, so one thing people do when they're doing the analysis of the stats early, right? Everybody wants to figure out what that thing is before everybody else and tell everybody, hey, I figured it out. Especially people in the space of the YouTube, the Instagram, the podcasting, in that Mariners coverage space, which now media, I mean, with new media, has grown to all these different,
Oh
platforms. You
yeah.
could learn about the Mariners through a rap song, a podcast, Root Sports, or now MLB, Mariners TV pregame, right? There is so many different things out there. And you see Instagram reels, where people are analyzing, okay, well, the Mariners, right, their approach isn't working, and we've got to, this is alarming. Or, oh, the offense just is a huge disappointment. But really, there's so many different jumping off points, so many storylines that you can look at, and you can actually look at it as a good thing. So to reframe one of them, right, one of the hottest hitters on the Mariners to begin the year that's played every single game so far, Cole Young would be the name that comes to mind. One of the really 7 everyday players. Obviously, you got Cal, Julio, Naylor. All started out with the slow starts. Just kind of getting into it in different ways. And then you've got the Brendan Donovan, who's been injured, so hasn't played every single game. Missed games over the weekend with that.
Unfortunately.
Something he sustained running to first base on Friday.
Mhm.
Was back in there yesterday. And then, that's your kind of main four guys. You got Randy, who's played in every game, who's just going underappreciated right now. He's got like a 290 batting average, and yet people
Yeah,
are still,
man. Come on now.
when Randy is great, people just underappreciate him. This is one of the things that we could talk about before we even get into Cole Young.
Yeah,
Randy
yeah.
Arozarena is off to this blistering hot start. He looks
Hmm.
good. His eye is one of the most underrated traits I think that on the Mariners team. Allowed him to walk so much last year that even with like a 238 batting average, he ends up having an amazing on base, amazing OBP.
Yeah.
What do you think of Randy starting out really hot, and the fact that it's going underappreciated because the quote unquote the big three are struggling?
Yeah, I think that for a guy like Randy, you definitely should appreciate him all the time. You should appreciate every guy all the time, correct? But I'm saying a player like Randy, if he's off hot and you don't see it, and then we underappreciate, and then he goes cold, that can really weigh on the boy. I'm sure. I'm not telling everybody how his game moves. I'm just saying from a perspective of thinking about a player. You want to see a guy like that's effort early. You want to see him and give him that praise and keep him on point and hope that he surges the whole time because he makes other players better. And you want to keep that guy consistent. You want to keep that guy engaged, man. We've seen when Randy's not engaged. We don't want unengaged Randy. We do not want that. You want him engaged. You want him fired up, and you want him all about your ball club, and that's what he is right now. It's a beautiful thing. I hope we do engage. I hope we do lock in and see the effort, and I hope he just stays. Hope he stays locked in because it's all there. It's all mental for these cats. They know that it's a wave, it's a roller coaster, and they know how fans are. It's love, but it's not love, right? So as a ball player, I just hope he stays locked in and focused on, being warm and getting warmer, and just staying consistent.
Absolutely. And I think you bring up a great point that, everybody feeds off of him. You look at his hottest stretch last year in July, was also the Mariners' hottest stretch by, a pretty decent margin. You remember that? I mean, I always go back to the ceiling of like the Mariners last year as that Tigers series right before the All-Star break. I don't know if
Mm.
you remember that one, where
Oh,
the
I
Mariners
definitely do.
45 runs in 3 games, going up
Wild.
against Jack Flaherty, Casey Mize. It didn't matter. I don't know if they faced Scooble in that series. Might have even
They
faced
did.
Scooble. Yeah,
They
they
did.
did.
I went home just for that game, and everybody was talking about, oh, you're not taking that game, like real bold, and we took that game. We
Hope
got
we
that
can.
game.
Let's hope we can
Yeah.
take the next two.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That was the ticket, but we got it. We were dancing in the street. That was a crazy time, man. We took that game at home. Yeah, man. Amazing stuff.
And everything at that point, right? That was Randy's hottest series of the season. He hit like 5
Yeah.
homers that series. I
Nuts.
mean, that was Julio hit like 4 homers, right? Everybody was going off, but when Randy does well, right? And Randy was heating up that like as soon as it hit July, the calendar hit July. He had gone
Yeah.
from hitting like 2 homers in the last since the first week of the season. This is like over
Hmm.
a quarter of the season elapsed, and then he just goes on an absolute tear, and he hits like 8 right before the All Star game.
Yeah.
Just on this tear.
Clicking,
Um,
clicking, man. Yeah.
and so when Randy is hot, the Mariners are hot. Like when this team plays at its best, and we talk a lot about the X factors before the season too. It's like, oh, if Cole Young can break out, this team is going to be awesome. If and that's going to be the difference between this team being like at their full potential and not, maybe at their full potential. Luke Rayleigh is one that was talked about. If he can get back to being, a 2020 guy sort of thing. Um, but I think people underestimate that one of the X factors in this team that like if this guy plays really well, you're gonna see this team reach their ceiling is Randy.
Yeah, I would agree big time. And there's a lot of players that matters to. That he clicks and the others click. You want to see guys do well in general, but it's just the truth. There's some guys when they're electric, when they're on, when their game is at its height, when he's yelling and he's fired up and his glove is a brick wall over there and left, and he's interacting with fans, it's different. You see a different vibe. You see a different pep in the run out to center. You see his warm up different. So he's one of those guys, like you said, Luke. Luke Nukem, I like to call him. He's another one you want to see. Leo Rivas. You want to see guys locked in. You want to see him working a bat at count to 4 balls. And take that bag. or get that scrappy, through the gap hit and see him fired up on second or something. There's just a thing about it, man. Some guys are catalysts to other guys, really fusing with that energy.
Absolutely. And I mean, you mentioned Randy's defense, where
Yeah.
I mean, he had one of the only two hits for the Mariners last night, right? Obviously not the best, but then his defense also, he had a couple balls that were hit to him. He
Mm,
tries to make a diving play, tries to energize the team, and the
right.
ball goes right under his glove, right? He just
You
doesn't
know.
quite get to it. Then
Right, right, right.
the one that's back, it looked like it was going to be a hit no matter what. It would have taken
Mm.
like nobody has a Julio level athlete in left field, but it seemed like that's what it would have taken to
Hey.
take away that other hit that it looked like he almost got his glove on it, right? And
Mm.
this is kind of the fear of failure, right? With being an athlete, and in baseball, you can't have this if you're actually going to be on the field. But
Right, right.
people are like, oh, well, like it looks like Randy missed this ball
Mm.
because he was close to it, because he put himself in really good position to get to it and everything, and because he went for the diving catch to try to energize the team. But
Right.
it would have been much easier, yeah. And Jay Buhner was on the broadcast last night. He's even like, yeah, like I know
Awesome.
people are gonna say like, oh, limit it to a single, let it bounce, but it's like you can't play that way. Like you have to
No.
be aggressive. You have to
Right.
believe in yourself to be
That's a fact.
the left fielder for a contending team in the American League. Like you can't really play any other way. And you can't be
Right.
play with your hair on fire, but then play super conservative and never do anything that might have you make a mistake. So really it's like he put himself in good position. He tried to make awesome plays, and one of them he probably didn't even have a chance at no matter what, and yet he puts himself in pretty good position, and then it looks like he fails. So
Right.
it's like the fear of failure is something you can't have that like, and you can't get mad at the Mariners for failing too. Like the Mariners failed to score runs in 18 innings, against the Angels this past series, which is like, yeah, it's true. But if you were watching
Mm.
those games, and also context matters, a big thing I talk about in
Right,
the
right.
post
Of
game
course.
recaps, because like you watch the Santa Ana wins, taking away fly
Mm.
balls, taking away homers, and that in some of those Angels games, it's
Right.
like there is an explanation for why that series was so low scoring. Um,
Yeah.
but I guess I say all this to say, and to turn it kind of back over to you is like, you can't be afraid of failing, or else you're
Right.
not gonna. I mean, you're never gonna achieve anything, any of your goals, if you're not willing to fail first,
Mm.
and you can't. I mean, and to even say that you are is like bad analysis, and then
Right.
to say, oh, the Mariners are failing. Like, yeah, we know they're failing, but why?
Right.
And then the context matters, being like, if we were to figure out why, right? Having watched as much Mariners, as you've been able to, I don't know how much you saw of the Angels series, the first away series, and then last night in Texas, but
Yeah.
where do you think the opportunities are to look at and say, hey, context matters, the result is poor, and then let's
Mm.
go get, like, here's like just room for us to improve, and it's pretty easy
Definitely.
room to take.
Yeah, for sure. I think that it's the context matters, of course. Let's start with that. You got to watch the games. I didn't see yesterday's game yet, but I did see the first and second game, highlights. I didn't watch them live. But I did get the gist of it and looking at the stats and seeing what players did. Once you look into that, and like I believe it was the second game when you see JP just hitting that top ninth bomb and homie just leaping over the wall to catch that. The Angels homie Adele, I believe is the last name. Shout out to the kid. He's crazy. What are you going to say when the captain puts your team into the position and does exactly what he's supposed to do, and a player makes a play that is the only stop button to that action? Do you hang your head in shame? Do you say, "Oh, you should have done better"? Like that doesn't sound like the results of the actions right there. I think the best result was put up. The boomstick was laid down, but homie's defense was right there, and it was ironclad. And that's what you have to say. A play was made. Tip your hat. That's a play, man. What are you harping about? That is nothing. You got to reload and restart beast mode all over again and come back and get the dub. That's what you're supposed to do. I think people are harping on the moment over, the context and the clarity of the entire situation. Now, when people do talk about runs and us not scoring runs, that is something that personally um, I understand, and I know that over time the Mariners have been a subject to fail at. So I will say, yes, I understand it's a soft spot. You have to score runs to win. Hits are something that I usually take a picture of and display. But let's bring the context back in order. We're 10 in. We're not one away from the playoffs. We're learning, not losing. So we see that early. It's a trigger thing for us. It's a red flag. Let's say right now, okay, great. Let's remember that. Let's learn it. Let's not lose to that knowledge, and let's eat, right? Let's make sure we're scoring. Now let's not make that a trend and see that occurring over and over again, because then we'll be like, dude, we're not scoring. So let's say it then. I just think we're jumping hot on the trigger things that make us feel annoyed because we want to be somewhere faster than we're going to be right now. We'll be there soon, and you can complain then, but let's take it step by step, and and learn, not lose. I want to keep bolstering that. Like, let's learn. We don't lose. We learn, and then we'll do the right thing later if we do learn from these things.
I'm glad you bring up Joe Adele because even me in my mind, that was the greatest defensive performance I've ever seen. And yet,
Yeah, it was
in
nuts.
our culture, in the information age that we're in, again, the new media space, all this stuff, even right, I say that the Mariners failed to score a run over 18 innings this weekend, but to say that is a complete injustice to the game of baseball, where a dude robbed 3 home runs.
Three multi runs, a couple of those, not just one. JP's was a multi run to tie. What are you gonna say? Like, what?
If you
There's
in the
nothing you can
comments
do.
down below know somebody that's robbed 2 home runs, let me know because since this stat has been tracked in 2004, I'm not sure. I don't think there's ever been somebody who's robbed 2 home runs in a game. Which it sounds like,
Yeah,
oh,
I'm
that's
not sure.
maybe that should have happened, right? That's like one that's like, oh, maybe. But if nobody's even robbed 2 in a game and now somebody robbed 3, the most in a season is 5. So for him to do
Mm,
3 in one game, I mean that
unbelievable.
unbelievable. And the other thing is, if you're
Unbelievable.
the Mariners, what are you gonna say, man? We can't hit home runs anymore to that part of the field. Like they had some fun with it, This on the on Sunday they had that. Did you see
Mm.
that whiteboard they had?
No, no, no. I didn't see
So
it.
the Mariners white outside the clubhouse, they put on their whiteboard Sunday for the day game plan. Don't hit the ball to Joseph Adele. Just having a total, having some humor about it. Because at that
That's
point,
all you can do.
it's all you can do is say, hey, like, obviously the game plan isn't to not hit the ball to a part of the field. Like that's not the game plan, right? But you're having fun
Mm.
with it, and you're
Right.
kind of making light of the idea that you're gonna, that the results completely signify exactly how you did. And
Right.
being a YouTuber, I mean, being a musical artist, right? Do you feel like you're? I'm gonna ask you. Do you
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
like your best work always gets the most number of listens?
Not a chance.
Yeah, the
Not a
best.
chance. Usually, yeah, usually the things that I like the most, they're not liked at all. Sometimes, like they're on the wayside. It's something that I didn't really even want to do. Becomes a thing that people are like, "Yo, you gotta do that. You gotta push that." So I try to just push everything personally, just to be honest. But on the low, yeah, when I'm sitting with something or I'm thinking about something, I really do. You gotta let that be what it is. And like you said, you have to have fun with it. I think that yeah, everybody wants to be, an Edgar and put the ball exactly where no one is, where it's supposed to be every time, but not even Edgar did it every time. So it's like you do what you can. And yeah, you have fun with saying we can't hit it to that guy. But if we hit it to that guy's got to make a play. And that guy was making plays that night. And that's where you tip your hat and you keep moving. Homie was in flow state. And what are you gonna do about that? You're gonna ball up and you're gonna play hard as you can and you're gonna reset. So it's nice to see the guys having fun with it. You can always, learn and just have fun. Yeah, that's great. I didn't know that, so I'm glad you shed light on the whiteboard moves. That's a beautiful thing to see. Yeah, have fun with that. Go out there and swing hard again and hit it right at him. Who cares? Do it again. Let's see it. Make a play again, dog. That's what it's about.
Exactly. And I will say too, did you see that pic of Joe Adele standing up? I'm sure you saw the video where
Yeah,
he
I saw it with the
stands up.
glove. Yeah,
That might be, I
nuts,
mean, that is the
nuts.
aura farming moment of the season so far, I will say. As far as
That's
culture
a solid
goes,
one.
like,
Yeah, I would say that's such a solid one because of the feat that he had over the course of the game, and then for that to be a tying home run top nine, like there's so much context to it, right? But there are others like PCA scoring from first, like that, uh, like the timing on his that kid is lightning fast. So yeah, there's so many things. Guys are performing, and it's amazing to see. So to have people who are really like throwing the stones right now instead of opening their mind to the athleticism and the way the league is just there's like a good array of guys performing. And I mean, your team might not be balling out crazy, but watch what they're doing, and they got a 10 in. We're about to do amazing things. This is just 10 in. We're just 10 in. And crazy things are occurring, brother. Like, it's more time, man. Let it simmer. Let the seasoning hit. Let these guys hit their flow states. We'll be answering these calls real soon. And hitting those home runs is nothing short than amazing. Let's go. Let us go out there and try to hit a home run. We're hitting dribblers 2 feet, so, or nothing at all. So, let's just remember, man, it's big things happening. And other players are making big plays, but it's who sustains. And, we'll learn and we'll sustain.
okay, now I've got kind of a hard question for you because it's
Yeah.
like, so I have the certain amount for, or like the certain amount, based on what I think that it takes for the stats to normalize. That like, if
Mm,
you go into something with a game plan, right, you don't want to, get a little bit of results. You don't want to be like, oh no, we got to scratch that, right? We got to throw away, our game plan, and then we got to,
right.
adapt it. How
Mm,
long do you think it is for you? This is a very subjective question that I'm asking
yeah.
you.
Right. Right.
For you, feel wise to come in with your game plan. How far into the season, for you, does it take for you to actually say, okay, it's time to adjust the game plan? Now we have new data,
Mm,
and now it's time to adjust the game plan if it's not working. And obviously, this is very subjective, and very
right.
based on the context and how good or how bad it's, how much you need to adjust it. But at what point do you even start to look at those things from your kind of feel?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, right now I'm trying, personally to help some make lighter, I guess, of getting a little too, amygdala stricken, by things that they're seeing instantly. So I'm just providing, a little relief, as you know, like to that effect. But if I had to break it down, I would say it's beautiful that we have somebody like Coach Dan Wilson and these other coaches around him who played the game for so long and know how to be on the field and off the field. I want to first say that I think that they're always adjusting already. I want to say that we're already learning. They're already learning instead of losing over what people are emoting. They're actually crunching those numbers, looking at these guys, marking these things 10 in. They don't go by the wayside like I do it. I do that to keep myself from being, wilding. But I would say if you're really trying to look at it, you're always changing, you're forever changing, but like 54 in, 56 in, I think then you're taking the data that you've really collected on 3 game, 4 game series with these clubs. And now you're like, we know that to work for you, for you, for you. You're in this situation. You're here. This guy's pitching here for sure tonight. Oh, we're in New York. We know what it's going to take to come out and get game 1 or game 2 based on this, that, and the third. So I'd say 54, 56 or something like that. Like you have to be like, I think you can chop it up and really have a formula that you're pouring out each time. But on the way there, you're already stacking, you're stacking the data. And, they're taking the mental note, they're seeing the body language. That's what guys like Dan and Edgar and the coaches on the side and Arnie are doing. They're really watching the guys close for that stuff. And they're paying, that's why they're there. You know what I'm saying? They're paying real close attention to that, that we miss. So yeah, by the wayside as a fan right now, come on, man. Let it go. But I think if we're really trying to alter our game, yeah, those 50s, that's when it's like you're seeing a certain set pop out. You're seeing a certain formulated strat go down, and you're seeing the same thing throughout the series is to come.
You bring up some good factors that influence that. like and variables like the teams you're playing haven't normalized, right? You played Guardians and the Yankees at home, right? That's very
Hmm.
different. The ballparks, right? Now you go to
Right.
Anaheim and the Santa Ana Winds, and then you go to Texas and the infield, the inside Globe Life Field in Arlington, where
Hmm.
I mean every single ball looks like it's crushed just because of the way that park is down there, in Texas, but closer to the border and stuff. Then you go to you go to all these different ballparks, right? So there's the teams that you're playing, the ballparks and the climates you're playing in, um, as well as just the sample sizes and the different series and different things like that. So you know, like for me, right, and based on the statistics, I actually take this from shout out to the FBT podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today. I think that's some of the best baseball analysis on this website. Scott White, Chris Towers, and Frank Stample. And from them, what I've learned is that for a player's stats to normalize, like you at least before you do any analysis on something that you had coming into the year, like if I thought that Cal or Julio, if I thought Julio was going to win the MVP, that's my preseason prediction, which it
Right.
was,
Right.
then I'm not going to reevaluate that no matter how bad Julio is. And Julio, maybe more than anybody else, is the best player to, I mean, not freak out in April with because it happens every year. But
Right.
to basically say, okay, I'm until mid-May. That is a quarter of the season. The season is about 6 months. You get 1.5 months through the season. At that point, mid-May, the stats have normalized to some extent. Say you get 700 plate appearances in a year, you're going to have between 150 and 200. You are going to have a big enough sample size to start worrying about the best players that are good, and to start considering the players like TJ Rumfield on the Rockies is absolutely off to a torrid start. I watched this guy in spring training against the Mariners. And I'm like, I don't know if I see anything here. And then there's some fantasy baseball guys that are like, okay, he does hit the ball hard. He does have a little bit of like no prospect pedigree, but the Yankees got rid of him. All good. And then the Rockies, have him, and he's a little bit of an interesting profile. So I'm like, huh, okay, maybe right. And then he got off to a torrid start right now through 11 games. He's supposed to be a platoon bat. They've only played against right-handers other than one lefty, and so it's like there's like a guy like that, right? I'm not going to take it seriously until
Right.
mid-May. A guy like Joey Weimer was off the hottest start we mentioned, I think, on the last podcast, right?
Right.
I think he's already slowed down, so once you get to mid-May, that's where I will start to, worry about Julio, Josh Naylor. I mean, it looks like Cal is turning it around. Obviously, the 12 pitch at bat against Jacob DeGrom and the bomb
Right.
yesterday. Did you see that?
I did. Highlight wise, yeah. I did see that.
Yeah, just an
Awesome.
excellent, excellent battle. Probably the at bat of the season so far for the Mariners. Even though it comes in a game where there wasn't a whole lot else to be happy about on the offensive end, and so yeah, I mean, the Mariners definitely aren't hitting the ball hard enough. In the results through 11 games, the Mariners definitely aren't. Aren't getting on base enough. I mean, if you're not hitting the
Yeah,
ball hard
that's a
enough, you're
tough
not getting
one.
on base. Your offense is going to be pretty, pretty barren. But
Yeah, that's a
is
fact.
that a sign of just like, I mean, that's not like, oh, this is who we are. So,
Oh no.
I mean, the Mariners great at hitting the ball hard last year. The idea that now there is the idea that okay, maybe other teams have figured this out and they've come into the year with the game plan. Well, we're going to attack exactly what you did last year. You hit the fastball well. All right, here, hit the changeup, hit the slider. Max Fried did a good job in the Yankees of doing that against us. Tanner Bybee on opening day before he had to come out with a shoulder injury, throwing a whole lot of cutters to us. Cam Schlittler, I mean, he is a different story. We're going to talk about a little bit about him later, but throwing us the cutter a whole lot. Actually, not throwing the ball as hard at us, right? Not just throwing us. I need to pump the velocity up against the Mariners. Nobody is actually thinking that. Is what it feels like. The teams are feeling like we've got to go location, 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 pitch out of the strike zone, and throw the breaking balls, all the junk pitches to the Mariners, because that was the problem last year, and that's what they haven't been able to necessarily do through 11 games this year. And I mean, I hate to I go back to that series in Detroit last year. Oh boy, okay. So got Don away for a minute, but we're gonna get him back real soon. Um, there he is. Back at it.
Back at it. Sorry about that. Yeah, lost connection. Terrible.
Oh, absolutely, all good. But yeah, like I was saying, right, that series where Julio and Randy and everybody was going off in Detroit last year, they're hitting the inside breaking balls, the changeups, the sliders inside to Julio and Randy, who are not
Right.
supposed to hit those. I mean, they're just blasting them out of the park. They're putting these swings on them that, I mean, look like a different player. And
Mm-hmm.
you have, I definitely wouldn't say you've seen those types of swings from anybody on the team this year, other than maybe like Cole Young, who we are going to get to as well. But
Right,
yeah,
right.
Don, what do with the ceiling being, kind of that Detroit series, kind of, where the Mariners are hitting those breaking balls, that they can do it.
Yeah,
But
of
it
course.
takes like 80 to 100 games almost to get there.
Mm-hmm.
What are you looking for in the next weeks and months from the Mariners, knowing that they might not get to their midseason form right away, but
Mm-hmm.
what can you take?
I mean, just trying to lay really heavy into that. Learn not lose. You can always take away that if we're moving guys around the bags and we're playing defensive ball, and we're hungry, we're not hurt, and we're always in the fight, then that means that we're out there being dogs as we're supposed to be. So we're able to have a winning outcome to each game that we set foot on the diamond for. So that I think that's what we can take. As long as we see that energy and we're doing those things, there's no reason to really overreact without understanding. The numbers need to take place, like you said, and like the site says, that you need this many games to even start to think about these things. And I don't know what May is to the amount of games, but I think that makes sense. I think that is completely what people should be thinking about. And if you need to turn a corner, then you can assess it and say, hey, this is what we weren't doing, and now we're at this point where we have to do this. Then you can build those things off of concrete details and step towards an argument that doesn't just sound like too many PBRs on a cold night. It just needs to be a little more plotted out and a little more forward. That's all. Just think about it a little stronger. And no one's got the correctness of of perfect. No one has that authenticity. Everyone's just got a formula that they're shaking up. But I think that these guys understand ball enough to give you kind of a template that now around here you can start thinking about it, and maybe here is the red zone. You get a window, and hopefully you can operate within that window. And to back it up a little bit, I do agree that that at bat by Cal was a high level at bat, and I would say a high level at bat for him alone, because he really needed that type of triumph. When you're having a slump, I think, and you're trying to go the distance for your team every time, like he does, and he really wants to show up and perform for his squad. To have an at bat like that where you triumph in that fashion, it's got to be a lift to everything. So I hope to see him build on that momentum. But I would say, yeah, Cole, and I would say Leo Rivas with that triple, and so many different at bats, clutch moves that are happening sprinkled here and there. Those have to be celebrated. Those have to, because those are going to be the ones that you need, on a later month, on a date when it's huge. And you got to remember that the boys can do that all the time. So you celebrate it now, right? And carry it on with us to the later dates.
Absolutely. I mean, with Cal, the interesting thing, and I'm actually going to make a little prediction here about
Mm-hmm.
Cal, which
Yeah.
is so he's seen, and shout out to Angie Mentink for covering this during that at bat, which
Mm-hmm.
led to the homer. I think that the two things are connected. Cal is top two. He was top two yesterday, I'm sure, after that 12 pitch at bat. He's probably either one or two right now in pitches per plate appearance in Major League Baseball.
Mm.
Last year, he
Hey.
was kind of in the middle to the bottom. He was swinging in the early count, right? He gets a pitch to hit, he's going.
Mm-hmm.
But this year, teams, I mean, they meet on the mound every single time they're pitching to Cal late in the game.
Right. Of
They
course. Of
throw
course.
him garbage every time,
Mm-hmm.
they see him early in the game.
Right.
Teams basically came into the year, they said, hey, this guy hit 60 home runs last year. He was 3 votes away from the MVP. I
Yeah.
mean, we are going, and you hear the radio talk this off season. Oh, how are the Mariners going to replace these 20, 60 homers from Cal Raleigh, who's probably only going to hit 40, right, or 45, and basically the answer is like, okay, well, like teams are going against Cal. It's like, okay, well, Mariners, you guys can go ahead and beat us, but you're just not going to do it with Cal Raleigh. We're not going to get beat
Right.
by a Cal Raleigh big dumper
Yeah.
homer that's going to send
Right.
your stadium into a frenzy. We'll let you beat us other ways, but we're going to
Mm-hmm.
say not that way, not the way that you did to
Right.
everybody last year. And so they're just
Yeah.
not pitching to him. And so Cal notices that. And that's part of, I think, why he looks a little bit frustrated at the plate. Not even
For sure.
frustrated, I wouldn't say, but like he's locked in. He's not as like free, happy go lucky. He's not, just
Mm.
as free. He's a little more
Right.
locked in, kind of
Mm-hmm.
being meticulous. He's being really measured at the plate, which is
Yes.
something he did early last year, which he actually had a similar slump through 10 games last year. It was actually a
Yeah.
little bit worse.
Mm.
But my big prediction, right, is that Cal is going to continue to not get any pitches to hit, basically. And
Right.
so, what do you do when you don't get any pitches to hit? You take long at bats. This is why I was the
Mm.
biggest Ben Williamson fan on the planet. This is the reason that
Gotcha.
I love J.P. Crawford, and that
Yeah.
Leo Rivas is an important piece of this lineup. He's appeared in
Yes.
every single game because that pest in the lineup. And so Cal Raleigh,
Yes.
right, turns into the guy who has to be the pest because they're not
Mm-hmm.
throwing him pitches to hit. So it's like, well, you in turn you get the pitch count up, but also you're not going to get a pitch to hit on the first 3-4 pitches of the at bat because they have those planned out. If there's
Right.
anybody they're planning the at bat out for about how they're going to pitch to him, it's Cal Raleigh. And
Yeah.
so
100%.
once they get into the 12th pitch of the at bat, even Jacob DeGrom is going to leave something over the plate.
It's possible. That's what that does. It just heightens the probability of him getting a good thing. And I like that you said that. And I don't think people are giving enough credit to a guy like Cal, who it's been now years where it's almost like a UFC fighter where the tape is there on the highlight fighter or the prize guy. You see the at bats, all the pitchers get the tape. They know the guy. You know what's happening. You know what's coming. So they have a plan, like you said. It's a premeditated situation always, but now it's really premeditated because you don't want to lose to the bat that everyone knows will take you out. So you're not getting the pitches. That leads to you just, having to raise that pitch count and having a harder at bat. They're working you crazier. You don't have anything to do. They might sneak one in there and get you because they're not pitching to you. So you have to be more poised. You have to be more careful and have more character up there at the plate. That's building. That's just building also a better ball player. So shout out to Cal and what he's going through with that. I do want to tip the hat for real because no one's shining light on when you got more tape and you got more eyes on you. They know what to do. They just literally know what to do, and everyone's got some tape. But when you're the 60 home run guy, they know your whole swing down to where your elbow drops and everything off the rip. They have so much on you. So he's really battling. He's really pulling off some adversity to get those at bats and be that big bat that he is.
I mean, the ability to go and become like a JP Crawford, like a level guy at what JP
Mm-hmm.
Crawford does when you're the biggest power threat on the planet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's
man.
such a dichotomy, but going together, right? That's kind of what Kyle Schwarber has to do. I mean, this guy is, this super feared lefty who, I mean, he mashes both sides of the plate. He was an MVP finalist in the NL last year. And if he didn't if he didn't become that, he would have, I mean, he wouldn't be in the majors in his mid 30s. Like, he would have just, been, okay, you're a slugger. You're like Adam Dunn. You remember Adam Dunn?
Yeah,
Right,
I remember I'm done.
Yeah, you're a big strikeout. You're a 3 true outcome guy. Either you get walked, you get, you strike out, or you hit a bomb. You hit 40 a year, but that's basically it.
Yeah.
But then
Right.
now you see these 55 homer guys in the majors, and you think, oh, they just got the big power. Well, Adam Dunn had that power too. Like, the difference is these guys have to basically add the JP Crawford element to their game, which still
Right.
goes underappreciated because people don't,
Of course.
don't see it. Maybe don't see the want to know every pitch. And I also yesterday I started to kind of go, and in the post game I was like, I know we say want to know every pitch, right? The name Want to Know podcast that you see right there, of this podcast. But
right.
when I say want to know every pitch, if it helps you think about it, you can say want to know any pitch. Because it's not, oh, you didn't go want to know this pitch, oh darn, right? No, it's the mindset of, oh, this next pitch is the pitch that I want to go want to know. It's
Right.
basically flush every pitch out, before that you did good or bad. And this next pitch is the want to know pitch. this
Right.
this next game that the Mariners play today is the one that we want to focus on going 1-0 in, because that's the only one
Right.
that we're going to play today. That's the only one that we can win.
That's
Um,
right.
and so really it's like 1-0 any pitch too. If you think, oh well, there's been all these pitches and he hasn't gone 1-0 yet. There's been all these at bats, he hasn't hit a home run yet. It's like, well, really you gotta believe that you can on any given pitch. I mean,
Hmm.
if we didn't believe that, on any given podcast, we could do exactly what we wanted to do, the podcast would not be very good, right?
That's
We
right.
have
Yeah.
some, more topics for you guys. We've gone really 40 minutes now, just talking about this stuff, and it's
Right. Right.
it's what's relevant right now. It's what's important.
It's a
Um,
fact.
and getting into some of this other stuff, right? The Mariners have been ahead of trends on the cultural side for a long time. I mean, the first team to do the Negro League uniform with the Steelheads, on
Yep.
the
That's a
Sundays.
fact. Yeah.
The but they've also been ahead of the curve in Jerry DiPoto's reign as general manager, really since 2017, on the pitching side, drafting Logan Gilbert, turning him into who he is, uh, drafting George Kirby, turning him into who he is. All these different guys. Brian Wu in the 6th round or in the 7th round, who's not even a good college pitcher, who they turn into the most dependable arm in the MLB right now, I would say. What do you think it's kind of cool about the fact that the Mariners are able to get ahead of the trends on the cultural side and the pitching side? And do you think that goes together at all?
Yeah, I think they go together. I also think the Mariners have been a squad or I would say an organization since before Jerry that developed ball players. Like from finding these guys and who it was. Shout out to any of the coaches and scouts who've been through the circuit because I don't know their names. I don't want to disrespect them, but over time, personally, since younger and hearing my grandfather talk about the club, they know how to grab guys, cultivate what's inside of them, see that potential, harness that, and bring out a dope ball player, even if they do go on to, the Yankees or somebody and ball out. So it's really great to see that it's still a functioning machine that really does cultivate these guys. And yeah, shout out to Jerry, of course, coming into the now where he's carrying that on and using his skills and sniping these guys who, somebody's like, oh, who's this Woo? And now you know who the Woo is off the top. It's just it's a beautiful thing. You have to be able to see something. It's a skill. Not everybody's got it. Not everybody's a diamond in the rough. And some guys, when they are rough, they're just rough. So you got to be able to tell the difference. So shout out to Jerry for, carrying the torch on that and keeping it rolling.
Absolutely. And kind of that also transitions into another thing we wanted to talk about. Not even, there was some other cultural stuff, Mike Trout being hit by the Mariners and everybody arguing
Mm,
about, can you pitch up and hit in? And I mean, obviously, I mean, we'll just, not going to say too much on that other than obviously the Angels are upset, but it's like, okay, you're going to throw to the guy's weak spot, right? And
right.
obviously, Casey Legamina is not trying to hit Mike Trout. Do you
No.
feel like we need to spend any more time on that? Anything you want to say about that?
I mean, no, not really. Also, that not every pitch is obviously up and in. So guys are trying to make Trout miss without only pitching him up tight. So, but you're gonna get some hot soup if you're if you're playing the play like that. So it is what it is.
Absolutely. The other thing, I mean, we want to, mention obviously Cole Young's breakout versus Cal and Julio's slumps. We talk about framing things in a positive light, be where your feet are. The fact that
Mm,
Cole Young can get out to 2 home runs, get out to an early lead on batting average and stuff, while Cal
mm,
and Julio were slumping, right? That actually should make you think this Mariners team can be better than they are, right? Because then if
mhm.
Cal and Julio come around, which they do every season,
Right.
then it's like now you've got this 1 through 7, 1 through 8, 1 through 9 in the lineup.
Of course.
Anything you
Yep.
want to mention about Cole Young's early breakout, and how, because some people are like, oh, right, well, if Cole Young is doing well and then, Cal and Julio aren't doing as well, maybe he, it almost causes like some sort of friction in the clubhouse. It's a very weird idea.
Yeah. Yeah, some people just have this thing of friction, or that if one's up, then one's down, or that if they have like a crab in the barrel mentality, like, oh, we're climbing up, so if this guy's up, then these guys are down, and they're pulling. This is why it's pulling down, but that's not how I see it. I see it just like you do. That if this young dog is out here early, then I hope he can sustain and stay healthy. And it's not a if, it's a when our veteran bulls pull through, and it's synergy. then we hope that they're all on it, right? And then it can roll as one unit. That's what it's about. You just hope that it catches up, that somebody sparks up early and other guys aren't there yet. It's not a reason to be like, oh man, like why can't we be all together now? It's a reason to be like, yeah, let's feed off this, let's get there, let's see that guy shining and rally around his light because he's gonna pull us up. That guy's, I mean, Julio, anybody, they see somebody up, you see the excitement of the club. They rally off of each other. So it's just about synergy, bro. So yeah, he's out early. That's great. We're gonna come around and we're all gonna lock in. Let's just hope that the popcorn's early, that we just want it sooner than later. That's it.
Absolutely. Um, One other thing, the life lessons of baseball, you want to learn the right ones, right?
Mhm.
You know, oh, well, we didn't get something, something didn't go our way. Well, context matters, right? There's reasons that these things can happen. Sometimes another person just is able to, do this other thing that, might prevent you from winning that day, stuff like that, right? Learning the right life lessons in baseball. How do you think we can do that this next week, before we meet again next Tuesday? What are some recommendations you have, being an experienced guy, right, in all these different fields, with how you can
Yeah.
take the life lessons of baseball and apply them to your own?
It's really just about trying to mirror those situations within your own life. The context will be a little different, but overcoming that adversity, like man, you're putting your best foot forward. You're in your space or in your genre or in your job, and you're hitting home runs just over the fence. You're doing A grade work, and for some reason you feel like Adele is just right there to catch that ball that you're hitting. And so what do? You got to go right back up and hit that same type of passion with that same type of power, with that same type of, you know, ambition. You just got to do it all over again. Because if you're not, then you're not going to move forward. And you just got to assess, learn, and grow, bro. We don't lose, we learn. And if we just take that into every game and every week and every series, I think we're going to be all right. And we'll stack the reasons of why we're getting better over time. And if we are trending in the downward spiral, if that is to happen, devil's advocate, which I don't want to play, but if we're gonna do that and we are there, then let's do it in the adequate amount of time. Let's learn from our buddies who've done the stats and know that when you should probably worry about it and when we could probably talk on the red line. But yeah, let's just put it into perspective, man, and take it step by step.
That almost sounds like the idea for a song right there. There's gonna be just the way that you explain that. That almost
Mm.
sounds like the perfect baseball song.
Hey, man, that's how you can also put it into life, because songs imitate life. So it's just there's learning lessons all within that, man, and we grow like that. So that's how I see it really pertaining to life and you getting better.
Absolutely. We also mentioned the culture and what happens to a different organization. You guys, I'm sure, remember when Julio Rodriguez came up, right? You remember when Jared Kelnick even came up with Logan Gilbert,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it gives you this hope. The Pirates over jumping around the MLB. The
yeah. Let's
Pirates
do it.
had the number one prospect in MLB, Connor Griffin, debut on Friday. And I mean, some say, a lot of people are saying that this is the best prospect since Mike Trout. This guy's 6'3", 220, and he's
Mm.
absolutely built. I mean, that is the size of Nick Emenwari for all you Seattle sports fans who, I mean, Nick Emenwari on the Seahawks, super soldier.
Oh
That's
yeah,
that's the size that we're talking about
dark
with Connor
side.
Griffin here. And the
Yeah.
type of athletic advantage that he has over the other players kind of feels that way too watching it. Power and speed both insane. We were texting back and forth about him on Friday. He doubled in his first MLB at bat, got a whole bunch of plus breaking balls off the plate, managed to stay back on one, and then hit it into the gap for a double. And then a few
Mm.
pitches later, he scores diving headfirst into home plate. I've never heard of the Pirates having so much hope or being so watching that game, going back and watching that inning. It was like this is just a different kind of idea of who the Pirates can be. Um,
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, oh, and yeah, this guy is the first 19-year-old position player in the majors since Juan Soto.
Mm.
Was the story of last week, and maybe the most exciting piece in the culture right now, in terms of what a guy is doing for their city and for their fan base and the culture of a single baseball town.
Mm.
Completely changed the culture in Pittsburgh, and they feel and look like they have hope for the first time in a long time. What do you think of the way that a player I mean, you are, old enough to remember the days watching Griffey in his prime, in the 90s. I was a little bit young for that. But what do
Mm.
you think of the way that one player can kind of change the culture in a city?
Yeah, man. I mean, we see it a lot now because I think players are more in the norm of presenting as themselves a lot. Now, I think, do people still assimilate and do people still, get under the umbrella of a brand and do what they have to do? Yes, like most of, the Yankees cut the hair and all this, but then there's the Jazz Chisholm Juniors who are still doing their thing and being them and then getting the green light to do them and, influence and, just really cultivate their culture and who they are. And I think it's a beautiful thing, man. I think that from players like Scooble to Skeens to now, the new guy on the Pirates, it's beautiful, man. A young cat, balling. The stature is crazy. The stats that he's a big dog is wild, but to see that he's bringing so much light to that club since somebody like McCutcheon is just brilliant because you want that light. You need that rejuvenation. It doesn't matter who it is. You just want it in a club, and to see that is crazy. So I'm glad that we brought him to the table and we hop around the league and just shine light on guys who are doing their thing, unapologetically and naturally. And it's a beautiful thing, man. I just want to see it keep happening. I want guys to just be who they are, step up there, hard on the sleeve, play hard, and change the game, man. Change the game. That's young, bro. 19, like that's and putting the team on your back, so to say, with the energy. Not to say that he's running everything, but just to say that new energy, that new blood. It's got to be a crazy lifeline for their whole club.
Absolutely. As I was saying the first time in a long time in Pittsburgh, I was thinking of Kutch in those 3 years
Yeah,
they made the playoffs. I
yeah,
think it was
man.
like 20, 2012, 13, 14,
Mm,
or 11, 12, 13. But when the Pirates had Kutch back then, right? I think they had K Rod as well.
mm-hmm.
Like they really had some juice. And I
Yeah,
mean, I've only been alive since 1998, but it sure feels like the only way, like the only times in Pirates history that I know about where they had a whole lot of hope and juice were when
mm,
they had, I mean, now with Connor Griffin, you kind of feel that aura coming back. When they had Kutch, MVP, and then when they had Roberto Clemente back in the day,
oh
rest
yeah,
in peace to him.
right. You hear the stories, yeah, about Roberto Clemente, man. Yeah, I agree though. I think you're right. I think that it's just a new rejuvenation. You just want to see a spark. You want to see a spark in the club. You want to see a spark on the bases. You want to see a spark at the bat, and it seems like this guy's got it for him. And yeah, I'm wishing him consistency. You know what I'm saying? And I hope he can just keep balling because it's good to see people win, man. It doesn't have to be just your team. You want to see good ball everywhere, but you hope when they go against your team that they're just not so on point, so you guys can triumph. But yeah, man, it's just great to see good stories in the league, and to see just the plethora of talent that I would say is spread around because everybody's always saying, "Oh man, the Dodgers are so good," and Yankees used to always, they were just, taking over. But now, I mean, man, on any given pitch, on any given day, a team can be up 7-1 on a team. It's just the truth. Like there's bats, there's speed, there's just change to it now, and it's nice to see it spread around.
Good point. I mean, the Rockies and Nationals have had some big explosions on
Hey,
offense early in the
that
season.
crazy bunt, you see that crazy Rockies bunt that got laid down.
I
I
didn't
mean,
even see
that
that. I'm
was
gonna have to look at that. What
yeah. You got to
happened?
check that out. I forget who it was. I don't want to disrespect him, but a beautiful bunt down third, and I mean it's on the chalk, and it's just sitting on it. It just sits
Oh,
there, just to move guys around. Just they're getting it done. Small ball at its finest. Yeah. I hope the Rockies find a stride, man, because they're trying to get some wins, and have a turnaround.
it's fun talking to those fans of those teams like Rockies right now because it's like they
Yeah,
have to appreciate the little things in baseball, right? They have this
yeah,
honest, Puritan love
mm-hmm.
for the game,
Yeah,
because they
man.
have to. They can't
They
appreciate an
have to.
MVP and they can't appreciate all these different all stars all the time. So,
Yeah.
shout out to all the fans of teams who don't have all these expectations and all the hype, right? You think it sucks to be a
Right.
fan of a team with all the expectations and all the hype. Just, go back to all the other teams' fans. There's probably 15, I mean, more than half the MLB whose fans feel
Mhm.
that way. Um,
Yeah, and we need to remember that we felt that way. Like we love our success, we love our club, we love our turnaround, but we have to remember that we were that club. We had a lot of time when we were down, a lot of time when nobody's at the park, a lot of time when we're like, man, when is it going to be our wins? When are we going to get those 2001s back? And now that we're back on track and we're feeling it, we just have to remember where we're from, man. Humble up, because we were that type of talk. We just were. It's just honest, and we love where we're at, and we want to keep soaring. But yeah, man, kudos to these clubs who are trying to get that turnaround and living on every pitch. You know what I'm saying? And living on the bunt. Like I hate when people are just consumed by the long ball and not understanding what a hit in a gap or a bunt can really do. Some guys talk like bunt's not even a hit, and I'm just baffled because that can bring in a run. I can put a guy on to bring in a run. It's a hit, bro. It's a hit. So we gotta humble up.
we were that for 40, 45 of our 50 years.
Yeah,
You
come
know,
on.
it's just what it is. You're right.
It is what it is. It's honesty.
But then also the
Yeah.
bunt thing is it's funny because then all the same people are out in these comments, right, on after the Angels series. We just need to bunt. Why didn't we bunt these guys over, right? The Angels won because they bunted. And it's like,
Yes, you can't use it as a blanket excuse. That's wicked wizardry. But to know that it's in the repertoire and it's in the arsenal. But to say that you have to bunt over a home run is
or like, oh,
that's
the Angels won
wild.
because they
That's
bunted over. Why didn't we do the same thing? Oh, you mean another
ah.
team won a baseball game than us? Let me just say the great Tommy Lasorda quote, the manager of the
Mm,
Dodgers last time they were really good in the 80s. He said,
mm,
no matter how good you are, you're going to lose a third of your games. No matter how bad you are, you're going to win a third of your games. What
mm.
happens in that other third determines how good you really are. That's
There it
just
is.
basically what it is, right? That's why you got to go 1-0 every pitch, go 1-0 any pitch. And the last
That's
thing
right.
that I'm going to say is just like you said, you got to be a fan of the sport, right? I'm a baseball
Mhm.
fan just as much as I'm a Mariners fan. And
Right.
watching Cam Schlittler in Seattle last week was an absolute joy, even though he was shutting down our team, just because I feel like I'm seeing history. I mean, this guy, to me, is just as good as Paul Skeens. I think he
Mm.
might be better. And I mean,
Word.
I want you all to call me crazy in the comments below. It is what it is, right? Um,
Right.
if we're not talking baseball, right, what are we doing? And I
That's
did get on
right.
the board at the game last week. We
Let's
talked about this
go.
last week, right? Got
Yeah, man.
myself a baseball. It was in the Yankees bullpen. I'm getting ready to watch Schlittler. The only chance I'll have all season. And I said, hey, you mind tossing that ball up real quick to a Yankee staffer? Tossed it up.
Mm.
If you
That's
want to ball at a
beautiful.
game, the best thing you can do is use your voice. If you are there
Yeah.
before the game, and I mean, it doesn't matter how many fans are on the railing, and if they're all Yankees fans and you're the only Mariners fan there, if there's a baseball sitting right there, right, you can say, hey, would you mind tossing that baseball up real quick? And then
Yeah.
they'll do it. Like if you just
Yeah,
use your
man.
words, these are human beings.
Kindness. Use your words. Kindness. Please and thank you. Yeah, come on.
And
Yeah.
so the one thing I'm going to do, I showed you guys this in spring training. We talked about the Mariners being ahead of the trends on the pitching side. They are one of the teams in the forefront of this, and the reason Cam Schlittler is good. And this is also the reason that Logan Gilbert is just like tinkering so much at the beginning of the season, and he's like inches away from becoming a top 10 pitcher in the MLB right now, kind of being like a real, the best version of himself we've ever seen, I think, is that
Mm.
if you're going to throw a baseball, if you and I were catching converse, right? I'm getting
Right.
behind the ball. I want to throw it
Mm.
straight. I want to throw it, very easily, nice and hard, but also very easily, and make
Mhm.
it go straight because that is the easiest way to do this thing. Is the
Right.
way that makes the most sense logically.
Mhm.
What teams are doing this year, the biggest development in pitching, this is also being done by Emerson Hancock. Teams, if you want your fastball to be good, you want your pitches to be good, you have to make them different than the average pitch of that type. So for
Mm.
forcing fastball, both Schlittler and Logan Gilbert are getting on the side of the baseball and they're throwing a cutter version of a fastball, basically. They're cutting their
Mm.
fastball. They're forcing fastball. The velocity is going to go down a little bit, but the velocity is the most important thing when pitching. But when you are able to make your fastball that much more different than other fastballs, it's that much harder to hit. And
Mm.
then you end up with, this weird fastball that nobody can hit. In my kind of view, it's going to maybe not last the whole year as dominant as Schlittler has been so far. He's starting tonight in the Bronx against the Athletics, his
Mm.
first start at home, his third start overall. But like it is going to be like, this is going to be something that I don't think the teams catch up to for a year or two. Similar to the way that Sweeper had such success for a year or two.
Right.
This is the reason Emerson Hancock is good right now, is getting on the side of it. This is the reason Cam Schlittler is, in my opinion, the best pitcher in the MLB right now. This is the reason that Logan Gilbert is going to be, I mean, in my view, probably the Mariners' Cy Young this year, is because these guys are getting on the side of the baseball. Now, obviously, Brian Wu, he is the most consistent pitcher in the MLB, I've already said. I put him top 5. But
yeah, no doubt.
In terms of pitchers who are going to unseat Skubal, Skeens, Crochet type of guys for an AL Cy Young, I think it might take getting just just an insane number of strikeouts, becoming something else. And I think that is what getting on the side of the baseball does. So if you watch Cam Schlittler tonight, next time you watch Logan Gilbert against the Astros this weekend, go ahead and watch. See if you can see them getting on the side of the ball. I know it's tough to watch on the TV. It's not, in person a little bit. But see that the fastball is weird, and it's moving horizontally a little bit. And just those couple inches of horizontal movement make it something completely different than the regular fastballs, which 99-100, it looks great on the radar gun, right? But it's something the MLB is caught up to.
Wow.
There's your nerd. You want to nerd out for a moment? You got any random?
Nah, man, you locked it in. That's solid information. I was just absorbing the new trend. You're on top of it, brother. I want to see it develop. That's about all. I'm gonna be paying attention, to that hand placement and seeing that change in that movement. That goes a long way, for sure.
And the new meta with the MLB pitchers that we were talking about, or the hitters, is you got to take more pitches and do J.P. Crawford stuff to be able to even get a pitch to hit. And my prediction is that Cal Raleigh this season can have a Kyle Schwarber level 2025 version of himself in 2026. Yesterday on my post game, I said I think Cal Raleigh is going to hit 49 homers this year. I think he's going to get real close to 50 again. Just the fact that he can take these long at bats. It's going to play late in the season. I mean, this is something that's built for success. It's built on a foundation, like a solid foundation. This isn't built on a cliff, teetering off of it like Joey Weimer's hot start.
Right,
no disrespect, right? But it's like,
no, of course.
That's what this is, right? This also isn't right. Cole Young breaking out at 22 years old. I expected some regression to the mean. His batting average already in the 250s. My season slash line for him that I predicted already, right? Around 250, around 20 homers, 10 stolen bases, more than 10% walk, less than 20% strikeout. That's where you're going to see these things normalize too. The stats are already starting to normalize. I'm loving it. The more data we get, right, the better we can be. What is there to look forward to this week, Don?
I mean, just looking forward to seeing some good ball played. You know what I'm saying? As you're saying, we got the Stros, so we definitely want to beat them. we don't like to lose to them. No one does. But yeah, just seeing us learn from what we've seen before, and keep chasing that late October dream. We just really want to get it, man, and that's what we're here. We're here to run it back. And I'm excited, man. I just want to take it series by series, let these guys develop, and keep our fandom behind them the whole way, instead of just choosing to click in and lock in when it finally is $200 a ticket and nobody can get there, and it's and we're where we want to be. We're right where we need to be, is a good little saying that you see sometimes. We're right where we need to be. If we think about it like that, we're approaching it fresh, and we're gonna take it by storm for sure. Now I'm excited. I'm excited to see him develop.
Absolutely. And just before we go, I think the Mariners might have dropped their lineup for 5 p.m. game today.
Oh, word. Okay.
So let's see if we got something we can give you guys a little live reaction. All right, we've got our lineup. So to face the right-hander Nathan Eovaldi, who is old, people think is like this is like a safe bet to be a really good pitcher in the MLB. I think he's old now, right? And so the problem is like I don't think he's that safe of a bet. Like, he's not as interesting of a top 30 starting pitcher. He is a very good one, but his first 2 starts, he's got an 11.42 ERA. So he's been blown up twice. We can go blow him up again. This is a guy who's been an all-star, been really, really good the last couple of years. But that left-handed lineup we've got Brendan Donovan leading off, Raleigh,
Hey.
Rodriguez, Naylor, Rosarena. The rule of five,
Mm-hmm.
your five all-star level every single day players. Then
Mm-hmm.
you've got this is the first game that Leo Rivas. This could be the first game that Leo Rivas is not a part of, unless he does come off the bench in this one. Because you got the four other guys in this lineup: Luke Rayleigh hitting 6, J.P. Crawford 7th,
Right.
Dom Canzone 8. That's the first time he's hitting the 8 hole, and then Cole Young 9th. Don, what do you think of this lineup?
I'm not too upset about it. I feel like we've definitely seen that type of lineup last year. You know what I'm saying? Later in the season, with those guys hitting late in the hole like that, especially Dom, because they like to put him around there to rally up to the top, and JP down there too. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I like it. I like to shake up the lineup and put some of those clutch, make a lot of pitch happen guys toward the end so they can kind of put the count up. So then those guys at the top of the lineup can get a kind of a fresh look, some fresh pitches. So yeah, I like it, man. I'm not upset at all. JP, good to see him, back functioning strong. He has been. I want to see that, consistently stay to be a thing. And I really like Rivas, man. So shout out to boy Rivas. But yeah, let's just rally around our guys being healthy and getting into full form.
Absolutely. George Kirby on the mound. I
Okay.
I had to back off of my George Kirby prediction of Cy Young just a little bit
Yep, I see. I
because
noticed that. I noticed.
the Mariners, they didn't like his 29-degree arm slot. They moved it back up to the 36-degree arm slot that he had. He's basically back to the 2024 pre-injury version of himself, which I was
Mhm.
actually more excited about the 2025 post-injury version of him with the lower arm slot, which was going for strikeouts and was an absolute monster at it. I thought he could like lead the AL in strikeouts almost. Well,
I
be
see.
well having some of the best command ever as well.
Hmm.
And so that is something that we're going to go ahead and back off of a little bit, but I still think he can be a top 10 to top 12 arm in the MLB. Um, and yeah, tonight I'm just hoping for the good Sterling George Kirby command, and that's
Right.
going to be the main thing to look out for. Can he have that command that he had? That he's always had, as long as he's himself, right? As long as he's
Hmm.
a version of himself. Get comfortable, get in the groove, do your thing, and go get a quality start.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think he would, like you said, backing off of it a little bit and letting it develop and seeing how he puts in that work will be great. So excited to see
Absolutely.
it.
Give Before we get out of here, give me a score prediction for tonight, and give me one guy to homer.
Let's do like a 4-1 prediction, Mariners, and now I'm gonna go with Donnie Be Good. I'm gonna go with Brandon Donovan because he's back in there, and I just think he's so scrappy and so doggish. I want to go with him getting one in the air.
Awesome. I'm gonna go with Cal Raleigh on a six pitch or more at bat to homer, uh,
Okay.
and I'm gonna go. I think it could look similar to last night, and I'm gonna go with a. I want to go. I want to go high. I want to go the most runs they've scored this year. So I'm gonna go 9 or 8 would be the most they've scored this year. Let's go 8, and I'm gonna say 8-3, 8-3 Mariners, and that's going to do it for this edition of the 1-0 podcast. Be where your feet are. We're right where we need to be. And remember, as long as you go 1-0 any pitch, stay stoic, give all glory to God. You can't lose. See you guys next Tuesday. Go M's.
Nice.